I know how time is pressing the conference, so I'm glad how things are going on. And thank you, President Obasanjo, for inviting me to have. Much has been said on the African continent and how Africa is progressing on the way forward. I would like to emphasize the one important point that everybody who stood in this podium has mentioned, which is the youth in Africa, which is basic. Africa, as has been said, is a very moving continent in terms of economy and in terms of development. One important aspect of this movement is Africa to remain and become very stable so that those gains can further be enhanced and sustained. I would like to take a little example, the case of Somalia. Somalia has been in a difficult situation for a long time. Generations have been lost. Somali state collapsed in 1991, and a boy or a girl who was 5 years old by that time today is 30 years old, most probably a father and a mother in a remote village who have never wanted to school, never wanted to any formal training. These young people, they lack the tools of life in their hands. Now, imagine a country where more than 70% of the population are less than 35 years old. And this age cohort are the ones that have been brought up during the collapse of the state. Living in a very remote village, having no alternative way of life, makes very, very vulnerable to be recruited by the evil forces that have been widely explained today in terms of violence and extremism. Many of the fighting force in Al-Shabaab are not there for ideological reasons. They are there for economic reasons. Getting $50 to $100 by the end of the month to feed their families. Those who adventure in the high seas of the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea, they do so because they don't have any other option or any other way of life. Those who adventure from the Horn of Africa all the way to the Mediterranean Sea and end up in Lampedusa or the Greek coasts are these age cohort I was telling now. Addressing the youth phenomena in Africa is a prerequisite for sustaining the current ongoing development, economic development, and the stability. Somalia is one of those countries. In one aspect, Somalia is not unique. It's a post-conflict environment. In another case, it's very unique because it's one country that has such a protracted, long time statelessness. And why Shabab is Somali? Shabab is an ideology-based organization, and ideologies have no borders and have no citizens. Why they are Somali is for one reason. In Somalia, there has been a territory that was not governed at all for a long time. This space has provided the terrorist groups free to recruit, free to train, and free to organize themselves, not only in Somalia, but in other parts of the continent and the world at large. The Somali government recently has established, implemented the federal structure that Somalia has opted 4 years ago. Today, in Somalia, there is no one single space that has no governance system that is responsible or in charge of it. We can say truly that those spaces or those governance structures that are in place are very weak. They're lacking capacity, lacking financial resources, lacking know-how. But today, at least, there is someone to ask what happened in that corner of Somalia. The African Union mission in Somalia is an experiment that has succeeded. The African problems with African solutions. Somalia is very much grateful for the African Union by providing those forces in Somalia, who provided space to the Somali government to establish the necessary governance structures and to work the reconciliation and political stabilization in the country. Similarly was the international partners who supported those forces to work in Somalia. Somalia has worked in the last 3 years to establish its own security forces so that it can take over the responsibility of the security at the earliest possible time. Somali National Army is right now jointly operating with the African Union mission in Somalia. The United Nations provided the necessary legal base for the African Union mission and the necessary support for establishing the Somali National Army. Zonal forces, regional forces was the initial establishment of the army today. A major program that is going right now in Somalia, run by an independent commission established by the government, is the integration of those forces. Instead of being regional or zonal forces, making them national forces with a national character and representation throughout Somalia. This is the forces that are in the making right now, who we hope to take over at the earliest possible time and say thank you for our African brothers who made the ultimate sacrifice for the sake of peace and stability in Somalia. Without a stable Somalia, the whole region of Horn of Africa will remain unstable, and by large, the African continent. There are proofs and evidences that in some time, Boko Haram has been trained in Somalia, and they went back to Nigeria to make what has been described by Kofi Annan right now here. The terrorists are so linked together, they are so associated and so organized. We, the world, we need now to be so organized. One important point I would like to add, this is the role of the countries that are facing the scourge of the terrorism. How much the world give a chance to listen, the local solutions, the local ideas. It has been reduced in the last couple of years, and experience shows that the world has reduced the tendency of imposing ideas from the outside. Local ideas, local organizations are more important, although they may lack capacity in terms of know-how, in terms of finance. Somalia has been given a good chance to do its own local solutions and has been supported, and that's what makes a lot of room. Firing bullets from 100 meters away from the State House in Mogadishu in 3 years back. Today, they are targeting the innocent and the soft targets of the civilians. Today, they are bombarding the hotels, the restaurants, the crowded places like universities and markets, while 3 years back, they were attacking the State House, the Parliament, the courthouse, and military installations. That shows the decline of their capacity in Somalia. The new phenomena of Daesh has been there in Somalia, but Daesh and Shabab, which is affiliated to Al-Qaeda, are in conflict. Maybe that is so lucky enough Somalia to have that war between Al-Qaeda, represented by Shabab, and Daesh. I would like to bring the attention of our international friends and partners. Addressing the phenomena of youth in Somalia will be a game changer in the whole. And this is what we have been requesting and what we are going to present in the high-level partnership forum meeting that's going to happen in Istanbul by the end of the month. I would like to add one last point, which is the political progress that's going on in Somalia. Somalia has been a highly centralized government before the collapse, whether a military dictatorship or whether a civilian democracy in 10 years and 21 years. Somali people one time decided, because of the problem of the civil war and the collapse, that the governance has to be decentralized, and we opted the federal system of governance. Unfortunately, there was no single law in Somalia that supports the decentralization. All laws that existed were serving a highly centralized governance system in the country. And our people were so eager to see that the governance has been decentralized. That was the main challenge that the Somali government faced in 2012. Today, we succeeded to establish the first cut of the federalism throughout Somalia. We have 6 states that are established in Somalia by the local people, facilitated by the federal government and international partners. Today, we have the discussions of development, the discussions of peace and security are discussed and participated in places that are very far away from Mogadishu, the capital city. This is a new dawn that has happened in Somalia. We are very much hopeful that this will help the political stability, which is a prerequisite for development and peace. Somalia is on the corner, and the investment of youth, investment of the economy is very important. Somalia is a very rich country that has a lot of resources, natural, human, and physical. We have the largest per capita of livestock, and we have the longest coastline of the African continent, with 10 million hectares of arable land with 2 permanent rivers. Somalia, by all terms, a rich country, but bad politics made it the way it is now. I do agree with Kofi Annan that politics, fixing the political problem in the continent and embracing the democratic principles in line with the African traditions and culture is a prerequisite for continuing and sustaining the current development in Africa. I thank you very much.